Star of Inanna tattoo. I've wanted it forever, and I figured it was a good time to get it now. It can serve as a travel altar, so no matter what happens, I'll always have her image with me. I'm not sure when I'll get around to editing and uploading this video, but I'm recording on March 9th, which is exactly 1 week after I got my tattoo. I'm currently in the peeling phase now, which is a little bit disturbing because if I look close, I can see little flakes of the ink color coming off, and it's reminding me of when temporary tattoos start flaking. I've seen a lot of slightly different variations of Inanna's star, but I specifically wanted it with the 3 concentric circles and the 3 levels on each point. I like to think of the sets of 3 as representing the 3 realms of heaven, earth, and the underworld. That's just my own interpretation, so don't take that meaning as historical fact or anything. I just made it up. I also prefer the variation where the horizontal and vertical points are on top and the diagonal ones are coming out from underneath, so that it kind of looks like a compass rose. Kinda like Inanna is guiding me. I think that's how it normally is on the ancient artifacts, but when I go on image search, I mostly find it drawn the other way. Maybe I'd have better luck on Google image search, but I use Bing for the free stuff. I already want another tattoo. I'm trying to make myself wait to schedule another, at least until the first one heals all the way. That seems like the responsible adult way to go about it, to make sure that I don't have any adverse reactions or whatever. Is it socially acceptable to schedule another appointment on your way out, like at the dentist? Or would that be weird? I'm a tattoo noob, so I still don't know how it all works. I think I'm going to get Inanna's name in cuneiform on my other arm next. Maybe just right here. I haven't decided if I want it all black or shaded to look like actual impressions in clay. Don't let me know your opinion in the comments. I don't accept feedback on decisions about my body. Just ask my oncologists. I think I'm leaning towards the all black. It was done by Elizabeth at the Electric Pen in Milan, Ohio, at the recommendation of Sam David in the comments of one of my other YouTube videos. And I promise I'm not actually as chronically online as that makes me sound. I highly recommend Liz. She was awesome, and the tattoo didn't even really hurt. It just felt like a little tickle. And apparently it's difficult to do all the little lines so close together like this, but she did it perfectly. I was a little afraid to get a tattoo because the 3 little dots that they put on me when I had radiation hurt so fucking bad, and those were just tiny little dots. Maybe it's the area on my body, or maybe it's because I actually really wanted this tattoo but didn't want the dots, or maybe the doctor that did the dots just didn't know what they were doing. But the actual tattoo didn't really hurt, so I would guess I was afraid for nothing. Aside from the design itself, there were a lot of circumstances around getting this tattoo that made it an even more meaningful experience. First of all, as I mentioned, I chose the artist recommended to me by Sam, the author of Rod and Ring. Doing the rod and ring work was a very significant part of my spiritual journey, so it was pretty sweet that I had the privilege of getting tattooed by the same artist who did a lot of his tattoos. I specifically wanted someone who was at least somewhat familiar with this type of thing and wouldn't be judgmental or whatever to do it. I didn't want any negative energy going into the process. I'm guessing tattoo artists are more likely than the general population to be cool, but you never know. Second, I traveled back to the area where I grew up to get it. I lived even more out in the country as a kid, but I went to Ehovie in Milan for the last 2 years of high school, like most kids in the Huron, Erie, Ottawa County area who just can't deal with the regular schools. I was a bridesmaid in my late friend's wedding at the Thomas Edison birthplace. It's so cool that Milan was a place where a bunch of neat stuff was invented, and Sumer was also a place where a bunch of neat stuff was invented. Also, my twin brother lives in Milan now. I didn't tell him I was going to be in town that day. Is that wrong? Obviously, I didn't have a great time growing up out there in such a rural area. I'm a queer, neurodivergent pagan Green Party member. It's like I didn't even have a chance. So it felt pretty badass to march back to the countryside to get my tattoo dedicated to the pagan goddess who is pretty much the patroness of queer, neurodivergent women. That's my own UPG, but I feel like that's the type of people Inanna is most drawn to. But I've wanted to have a tattoo of her star symbol since I was a teenager. But aside from being super afraid of needles, I was also a little afraid of explaining what the symbol meant to random people. I'm so glad that I finally lost my ability to give a fuck about things like that. It happened around the time I had chemo a few years ago. You see, chemo works by killing off all the fastest growing cells, and fucks are the fastest growing cells of all. It almost got all of them, so now I have no fucks left to give. You should definitely trust my medical expertise. I have a YouTube channel and everything. They don't just let anyone have one. Third, as we know, Inanna is associated with the planet Venus, appearing both as the evening star and the morning star. Now, I don't really follow astrology, but my appointment ended up being on the second day of Venus retrograde. The last time Venus retrograde came around was around the time that I joined Circle of Inanna. The first circle I attended was July 23rd, which was also the second day of the previous Venus retrograde. That probably has some kind of astrological significance. Fourth, I still had some of the weird pink antibacterial soap left over from when I had my lumpectomy surgery, and Aquaphor left over from when I had radiation. So I've been using those to clean and moisturize my tattoo. It feels kind of healing in a way to repurpose those items for something good that makes me happy. That probably sounds stupid, especially for everyone who never went through anything like that, but just let me have this. It's like some kind of transformation magic or something, which is super on brand for Inanna. And I already mentioned, but I think my next tattoo is going to be Inanna's name written in cuneiform on my right arm. I also kind of want something eventually to cover up one of my surgical scars from my lumpectomy. It's kind of in an awkward, flabby spot, like kind of right here under my armpit. So I don't know if I want something that is actually meaningful that might end up looking distorted. Right now I'm leaning toward a silly little worm or maybe a snake. The idea came from a shower thought that scars are just free tattoos. It's not a scar, it's a worm. A worm could symbolize transformation because they transform organic garbage into rich castings to grow beautiful flowers and life-sustaining vegetables. A snake could also be a more traditional and therefore more boring symbol of the same thing. I should probably wait a while to get anything else on the left side of my body though, because of the missing lymph nodes. I'm technically not supposed to have blood drawn or my blood pressure taken on my left arm. But I didn't ask about tattoos. I didn't see much point in asking about something that I was going to do anyway. So that's my experience getting a tattoo for the first time. I guess waiting until I was 35 to get one makes for a better story than if I had started at a normal age. It could have been like, yeah, I turned 18, so I took my birthday money to the closest tattoo place to my house and picked a flash design off the board. It's a lower back butterfly. Or, my buddy brought a tattoo kit to an underage drinking party one time. I blacked out and woke up with a poorly drawn piece of toast on my ass. Anyway, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.